Thanks a lot. And just as stay here because we're gonna call the other experts in the panel, so we'll get Philip back, and we're also inviting Wolfgang Reinhold, chairman of CARA, the European Car Remarketing Association, with his contacts with all of the CARA members. That's of course a great input. I just want to share with you a bit the result of the Q&A first, which you could have seen, but I put it here. Well, I think what we all explained before has probably helped giving this result, because more than 1 out of 2 says that the uncertainty is clearly creating the main challenge. I think the other challenges, we probably all know that they're out there, but the uncertainty is clearly creating challenges to forecast volumes. And indeed, as you say, we probably need higher flexibility as a service provider if it's defleeting or anything. So indeed, good input there. So where do we start? Maybe Wolfgang, maybe what's your take out of what you've heard today, maybe giving a reflection on what you hear from your members, everything. What's your view?
I mean, you can hear me out?
Yes, perfect.
Perfect, thank you. We never been 40 years in the market. We never been such a strange situation as we have at the moment. I mean, the last financial crisis was financial. Now we have everything. We have a war. We have a ship shortage. We have a pandemic. Where is that going to? And additional to the normal standard business, and especially Luis Maria said that e-vehicles will become a big challenge in the future. And I strongly and personally believe that the RVs of e-vehicles is extremely high. I don't see a problem for the next coming 2 or 3 years because the demand is there for cars. But when we come back to a sort of a normal time, the residual in percentage have to come down. The price of an electric car have to come towards a combustion engine. We know that by 2030 or 2035, whatever, combustion engine will disappear. I mean, I think that is fact. OEMs already agreed on that. And where we are going then? What has happened? And the infrastructure here is, do we have enough charging points? What has happened with all the fuel stations? Are they transforming into EV fuel stations or things like that? There's a lot of when and what and but, and we cannot sit back and wait. We have to find a solution as soon as possible.
Yeah. Just on those RVs, because in the presentation before we had some OEMs move more into high end. So there is less volume in general. So there's a change in a mix that we put on the market. So what will be the outcome of the RVs? I've heard that RVs on smaller cars might be a challenge, but there are some OEMs that won't even have those smaller cars. So you could also say that there will be a shortage of them in the used car market. I don't know, Philip or Luis Maria, you've got a view on that, how this will evolve?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of, as you say, we talk about unknowns and complexities. We know that there's certain OEMs that have clearly announced that they're moving back into a lower volume, higher profit marketplace, and that means moving into the higher end premium models and cutting models across their representation as they move towards that electric vehicle market. We know that there's comments that to produce electric vehicles in that city car super mini market is not a profitable market for the manufacturers to operate within. I think we've Wolfgang talking there about all these challenges. I think pre the sort of coming out of COVID, we were talking about the onset of the volumes of electric vehicles and therefore start to reduce the entrance cost of electric vehicles. But now with what's happening in the economy, we've now got raw materials accelerating at unprecedented rates, where that's your magnesium, your lithium, your aluminium, your steel, etc. So suddenly, where we expected the increased volumes of electric vehicle manufacturing to start to reduce the cost, actually the cost to build vehicles, be it combustion or electric, is accelerating, and therefore making it more and more difficult for where we go in the short to medium term around that entry cost. Now, the question is, you look at the volumes reported to come out of China and the type of vehicles that are coming out of China. They've gone up 1 million to 2 million in 12 months. They're reporting to be 5 million by 2025 in terms of export, which will be dominated by electric vehicles. And the question is, will they take care of that lower price entrance cost of electric vehicles? Does that make the market a little bit more accessible? And does that then give the volume expectations to meet demand, where some of the existing operators are not willing or not wanting to do that? So it's getting very complex in the whole market. And, we look at where these operators, manufacturers, we talk about the production volume drops. What we haven't looked at is where this manufacturing is now starting to take place. There's been significant shifts in manufacturing by country, never mind volume. And that's because of raw material, local access to labour and material, and distribution. So where will these vehicles, are they going to be more local distribution, less happening in different marketplaces? So I think we're in for a severe period of many uncertainties. And I think many watching today's call will, no matter how good or bad it is, if I know what's coming, I can plan and I can set a strategy and I know what to do. The problem is, at the minute, we know there's all this stuff going on. We're not quite sure what it's going to look like going forward. We know we've got to do something, to Wolfgang's point, around investment in infrastructure. We know the remarketing sector has got to invest in support infrastructure for electric vehicles. We've got to invest in expertise and knowledge around electric vehicles. We just don't know what we need to invest in, how soon and how much we invest, because the speed in which some of this technology is moving, and we're not quite sure what the volumes will look like in the future either. So I'm sure Luis Maria has probably got something to add to that as well.
Well, when I was listening to you, Philip, I was thinking that how right was the audience when they said that uncertainty is the biggest challenge that we have. So, because basically what you described is this situation. I mean, how difficult is this to understand what is coming up? And I think that we can only talk about different scenarios. I mean, what could be the different scenarios that will be happening? I hardly doubt that once that the supply chain takes the pace, there will be a shortage on the offer. I hardly doubt it. I mean, I think that some manufacturers will take the place of others, definitely. We can see that maybe different manufacturers will have completely different strategies to others, and some of them, of course, will benefit from that, from taking the right one. And I think that what we will definitely see is that independently, if we talk about the small or larger cars, residual values will get, will be rebalanced in the future. And I think that we will see that happening, especially in the electric vehicles. I mean, I think that there will be a challenge in any case, even if the law enforces a clear or a quicker adoption. I mean, the challenges with this new technological change are so high and are so new, and also is progressing so quickly in terms of new technologies, that the challenge of keeping a good control of these residual values will be very high. And I think that in that point, we will see again how remarketing strategies need to be extremely well defined and fully optimized in order to make sure that you can take the best advantage of a very difficult situation in the market. I mean, that will come sooner or later. Of course, now no one can say, and this is why we talk about uncertainty, because I mean, we have a war going on. We have China completely closed down, and this situation, we don't know how it will last. I mean, we have absolutely no idea, and no one can. I like the slide from Sint of this crystal ball. This is the only thing that we can do, but we can look at different scenarios and different timelines, and I think that some of these effects we will be seeing those in the short term, in the medium term.
Now, of course, you've shown the slide where OEMs have announced actually very good financial results. I'm assuming, or I think, that those financial results are not found everywhere, certainly not with the dealers or dealer groups, the agency models that have been implemented or are implemented probably have an impact on this. What have you heard voices from dealer groups on where they find themselves now, and any ideas on what solutions could be there for them?
I mean, I think from my perspective, I think very much UK centric, but there's been some significant financial announcements, particularly from what we define as the AM100 operators here in the UK, that potentially have either purely UK presence or European and international presence. So the Penske's of the world and others, that on the back of 2021 and the acceleration of the used vehicle values, the profitability that has returned to the new vehicle market, and the increase in residual values. And, all of a sudden they're operating with high balance sheets of appreciating assets rather than depreciating assets. And, there's been different incentives in different marketplaces in terms of government and support in place. So they've all performed very well considering. But it is that point, okay, that was 2021 or even Q1 of 2020. We know that Q2 is a different story, and we know the remainder of this year and into 2023 will be a different story. We know the market is starting to ease. Volumes are not returning back to the used vehicle market. So, and then where does that sit? And, we talk about agency model, and many commentators say, you know what, I'll operate within the agency model, pay me a fee rather than I'll manage my own profitability, but take that asset off my balance sheet and I'll invest that capital elsewhere into other things. And, that may be the case, but, we heard about it on the last webinar, that are we confident that all the OEMs that are sitting there today benefiting from the high profitability through lack of volume, reasonable demand, long lead times that we know are longer than they want to be and need to be, but actually does vanity then return where they start to chase market share and volume once we start to get supply of materials back into the marketplace? And that's the big question, which then puts profitability pressure back on not just the OEM but the dealer sector as we move forward, because suddenly they're chasing volume. And back to Luis Maria's point there, that will we remain in a pull market, or could certain areas of the market return to a push marketplace that actually, return to a volume and therefore a lower profitability market?
Another element, Philip, what I would like to add on, and Johan, you said that is the subsidizing by the government. I mean, to be honest, the government cannot pay endless thousands and thousands of euros or pounds to subsidize an e-vehicle. This even will make the car more expensive, and this going out. And another big issue we haven't touched on is the hybrid cars. What are the OEMs doing with the hybrid cars? Is hybrid cars are stopping by 2030 as well. The high residual on a hybrid car is going down, and is most, and I can speak only for the German market, which I know quite well, is most high-level 2.5, 3-liter cars on hybrid. I mean, this will be, first of all, high fuel consumption for the time being, very heavy. And by the end, what are we doing with all this kind of cars? Are we setting them up to Africa, or are we scrapping them? I have no idea. And that is where the OEMs and even the government, we're talking about, is this a hybrid, an electric car? Is that going over 2030? Is that a petrol car? I mean, this is not really clear for me and the audience. Where is that going to? Huh?
No, I think indeed sorry.
Maybe returning to your point regarding dealer networks, I think that, they are definitely not the biggest winners out of this situation. I mean, at the end, dealers depend a lot on the strategy of the OEMs, and this strategy of the OEMs is unclear as well, and it's also filled up with this difficult to predict what is going to happen. And I think that what we can definitely see is that many dealers are looking not so bad to the agency model, because they can see even an opportunity there. Unfortunately, what we also see, and this creates again, difficult to say what is going to happen, is that many times the OEMs are not so clear yet what that agency model means. And I think that Philip was pointing out yesterday during our preparation how some OEMs, they have already announced to start the agency model in January, I think, and then you can still talk to them, and they don't even know exactly what that means, how the contract look like, or if it involves only new cars or also used cars, or how the process would look like. And I think this is something that we see, and this creates again uncertainty in the dealers and makes for them simply difficult to plan ahead and to prepare themselves for what is coming up.
Yeah, and just to add to that point, in terms of complexity, that some work that I'm doing here is that trying to understand, in the world of agency, we understand that a lot of the costs will move from the dealer onto the OEM, particularly the consignment, and obviously in terms of dealership investment, in terms of dealer standards. But actually, who controls the finance? Who sells the add-ons? Where's the revenue and profitability come from, such as gap, warranty sales, etc.? Is that all controlled within the OEM space? And again, the dealer paid on a commission basis, or as the dealer got a little bit more control with that. And we talk about the rental and leasing sector. If they're not going to return, if we know that the OEMs are focusing on profitability, and therefore that works against some of the business models of the rental sector, could we start to see where there's a little bit more collaboration and partnerships between those marketplaces? We've seen it with Hertz and Polestar, and there's rumors of other conversations taking place where, do we see a closer collaboration in that lease contract hire sector with the OEMs as we go forward? And what does that mean for the dealer then in the middle of this as well? So again, I think there's one thing that's clear. There's certainly no blueprint for what's coming, and each OEM, each market will be going at it probably at different rates and different angles and different strategies. If they do know the strategy, back to Lewis Maria's point, if there is a strategy, or they just know they're doing it, they're just not sure how yet.
But is all of this then also not creating some opportunities for service providers that are currently active in maybe the defleeting or other areas, that with, for example, agency model, or short-term rental companies that need to start with sourcing, or again have vehicles at risk, that this creates an opportunity for a different marketplace almost.
Yeah, but if you see the structure of
it's absolutely clear, Johan.
Wolfgang, please.
Okay, if you see the structure of the big rental car companies now, they're used of the way that they are returning the cars every 6 months. They don't have, and that's not negative, they don't have maintenance departments. They don't need tires as much. And if you go into a renting of 24 or 36 months and up to 100,000 kilometers, is a whole new back office activities which they have to implement, and this costs money. We mentioned that before. Rent-a-car companies, in my point of view, are the biggest loser in this whole battle what we're having at the moment. The pricing is increasing dramatically. Now we are starting into the summer. I mean, last year or before COVID, you had for $12.99, $19.99 a rent-a-car of Mallorca, and now you're going up to 80, 90, or 100 euros. And then the end user saying, why shall I do that? Shall I rent a car instead of 100 euros for 5 days? No, I'm paying 500. No, I'm sitting in my all-inclusive hotel and get drunk. I mean, that is the alternative for that. And this is not good for the market either. I mean, and we are all talking about mobility. Mobility is part of rent-a-car business, car sharing and this kind of thing. If a car sharing is much more expensive in Germany than a railway ticket, and this is not for the time being, but it is quite expensive, then we are on the wrong path. I mean, we are talking about mobility. Bicycle is okay, scooters is okay, but especially in Northern Europe, we have to see a little bit the weather, the distance, and therefore politics have to come up with an idea and say, okay, how are we structuring that? I cannot go from a 100 euro rent-a-car to a 5-cent motor scooter per day. Yeah.
And I think to your point, Johan,
absolutely, and I think that.
Go on, Lewis Maria, go on. There's a delay.
Thank you. Yeah, I think there is a small delay, and it's difficult to to make sure when is the right moment to intervene. But anyway, I just wanted to take what Johan said, and definitely there will be new opportunities. I mean, we all know by experience, and we should also remain a little bit optimistic But every time that a door closes, there will be another one opening up. I mean, that's clear. I mean, that will happen for all the different actors that we saw before, the OEMs, the long rentals, the short rentals, and also the service supplier. And we have many examples. And you said it before also, Johan, this topic about the rental car going more into this business. This will, of course, increase the opportunities of remarketing suppliers to support this business of the short rentals. We will also see how this entry or this disruption even of the electric vehicle into the market, this will bring a lot of new needs in terms of new services that we are not even thinking today, but they will be definitely coming up and they will present themselves as long as the market share of electric vehicle will be increasing. And then if we also talk about how the OEMs, maybe some OEMs will be rejecting to produce certain models because maybe they are not profitable and maybe will be dropping part of the market share of those service models. Some others will take it over. I mean, we have the Chinese and the Asian brands coming over to Europe. We have also, as an example, Tesla coming extremely strong also to Europe. So we will see happening how the space that some OEMs will leave will be taken by others. Some of them will be winning out of leaving the market share. Some of them will be winning out of taking that market share. And this is what is clear in life. We have to be extremely flexible and open to take the opportunities that for each of the actors will be appearing into the market, but they will be there, no question about it.
Philip, maybe talking as I mentioned, talking about new entrants and the words Chinese has fallen. Philip, you've got, I'm sure, a kind of view on what do you think is going to happen there? Is this current climate helping them, or is this stopping them, or is this do they have more questions and will it basically delay some of them?
I think I think from a new entrance, I think we've seen there's two types of new entrants. You've got your new manufacturers that are coming in. Some are better placed than others. If you look at Geely in terms of Polestar, they've also got the Volvo and other operators such as Lotus and many others. So they have a bigger lens around obviously current processes and strategies in terms of market presence and what they are planning to do in operators such as Polestar. Then you have your new pure OEMs such as your Neos, your Sepang that are entering the marketplaces and many others. Some will succeed, some will fail. We've seen that many times. I mean, if you just go over to China, I daren't guess how many manufacturers there are in the Chinese market alone that we can't even think of, the complexity that's over there. And then there's the other side around the new entrances in terms of retail operators, be it the Kazoos of the world and others, that have disrupted the market and in many ways accelerated the market. Just looking at the UK perspective, Kazoo certainly entering the market in the digital space, it did a lot for the current retailers in terms of accelerate their digital presence, their need to be in that digital and e-commerce environment more than they may have wanted to do at such a rate. So there is a lot going on at the minute. I think back to Luis Maria's point, I think, I'd echo that we talk about doom and gloom, we talk about the challenges, but with that, there are a lot of opportunities. Back to them new entrants that don't have physical infrastructures, that don't have physical dealerships, they don't have a network. And let's not forget, these dealer networks that whether they move to agency or not, they're the front end expertise. They're the ones that operate on a daily basis with the consumer, with the asset, and know what to do. The OEM, or in some cases, the OEMs don't. Some of these new entrants will open up opportunities to be able to offer that third party solution, be it in the appraisal and valuation space, be it in the vehicle movement. And we're not even talking about data and the need for insight, the need for data and the need for data management that will create many opportunities for many that have joined today's webinar that as we move forward. So I think there's probably as many, as Luis Maria said, that, as one door closes, another one opens, but there will be a lot of change. We need to understand it. We need to be as close to it as possible, but I think there will be a lot of opportunities as we move forward.
Yeah, I think just moving maybe indeed into an area like, okay, what could be advice, and we will maybe afterwards do a small tour around the table on some final advice maybe. But Wolfgang, maybe on touching on one of the things where you're always heavily into, on state of health, for example, if you talk about EVs, Cara has been investing, I think, quite a lot the last year there. Can you share a quick status of what that could be and what the outcome could be and how this could help the industry?
The biggest question here, where we started off, is mainly to the end consumers. If I buy an EV, how good is my battery? The battery exist, but is it 60%, 40%, 80%, 95%? And with all our experts out from the members from Cara, we had set up a work group, and it's nearly finished. And we will come up during the summer with an idea that we have sort of 3 levels. First of all, we have identified companies who are qualified on the 3 levels, say a gold, silver, platinum level, and then it goes together with the cost. And with this sort of Cara certification, then of course the end customers and even the dealers are sure that this car has been properly checked, and the state of the battery and the health of the battery will hold at least for next period on a 70, 80, 90% chargeable. And
okay,
the information will come during the summer, earliest in the autumn.
Okay, that's great. That's something to look forward to. Maybe now do a final round of everyone, maybe to focus more on what could be an advice or an opportunity. Because of course, in a challenging world which is uncertain, we can't say that everything's great. But I think for those who have looked at all of the options that are flexible, that have a strategy, there are always opportunities, but maybe just share some of the views. Luis, Maria, I'm going to start with you because there's always a short delay, so it's good that you can start.
Thanks, Johan, for giving me the word. Well, I think that, as I said before, I think that there are lots, or there will be lots of opportunities. We as humans, unfortunately, tend to look more at the challenges and at the problems than at the opportunities, and that's I think that this is something in our nature that makes us do that. But there will be lots of opportunities. But if I can give an advice, and which is quite difficult, of course, in such a broad audience, is that whereas your company or your service is one of the, let's say, winners, or is benefiting out of this situation, or is having more challenges at the moment, it doesn't matter. I mean, you can, of course, look at adapting your strategy. You can look, of course, at entering new markets or models and services. But I would always recommend to look at your fundamentals, at your essentials. And I think that this is, as also Philip said before, I mean, when we see dealers, how they are really the ones that understand the customers, that really know how to handle an asset, or when we see many there are lots of startups that are promising gold and lots of perfect ideas and solutions, or completely trying to disrupt the market, and some of them will be successful. But we also know that at the end, the fundamentals of the business will still remain, and we have to make sure that we do those correctly. And if we do those correctly, I'm sure that most of us will be really having a good success also in the future, when situation will become a little bit more stable.
Okay, thanks. Philip.
Yeah, I mean, reality is we are in an uncertain period. We know there's a lot of change on the horizon. I think whether you sit within the remarketing space or the dealer space or the OEM space, it's trying to, from a business perspective, keep close to what is happening today, but actually look at some of these big trends that are on the horizon, what's coming. Look at different marketplaces, if you're in Europe, look at different markets within Europe, or look at the UK, or even towards what's happening over in the US. I think maybe these days, the US are probably looking at what's happening in Europe and the UK more than the other way around, because, in terms of electrification, in terms of agency, we are ahead as a marketplace than US have got that to come. So, we have got opportunities. I think, we know that whether today the infrastructure is not ready for electric vehicles, whether the cost of ownership is not ready for electric vehicles, they're coming, whether that's 2030, 2035, 2040, they are coming, and they're coming very quickly. And reality is those deadlines are just that. They are a deadline from a legislation perspective. The OEMs are moving quicker. The fleet sector is moving quicker. So the vehicles coming into the remarketing, the used wholesale marketplace are coming a lot quicker than those deadlines. So if you sat here today saying it's okay because we're at 2030 or we're at 2035, no, 2025 will be a significant point of change for electrification. So we need to be ready. We need the expertise, we need the understanding, and we need to start thinking about, if we're not investing today, what are we going to start investing in, and when will we start to invest? You know, we just talked earlier about the profitability that we've seen out of the 2021. There is a broad brush statement where somebody commented recently that in the US, they've taken that profitability that they've been making throughout last year and gone and upgraded their yachts or bought a helicopter. And somebody's saying, you should have kept that. There is only a good time. There's 2 times for a yacht, when you buy it and when you sell it. Yeah. So maybe we need to start to think that actually we've got some tough times ahead. We need to think about investing. We need to start fixing that roof ready for the future. We've got change coming. It's coming quickly. And I think that's what we start to need to thinking about. You know, it's tough today. Supply is short, but you know, we will start to recover, whether that's 2022, 23, even 2024. We will start to see supply coming back, not to the levels that we saw before, but we will resolve the supply issue and we will start to see recovery, but it'll be a different type of marketplace that we start to enter.
Okay, thanks, Philip. Wolfgang, the final word is yours for this expert panel.
I would like to give an advice to the new startups. We have seen a lot of startups coming in. They see in the car marketing area there is a shitload of money they can make. And I agree, this year, next year, in 3 years' time, I don't know. Be careful that we are not having too many startups, that we are not destroying the market in the next 2 years, and they will disappear, and we will left with the market what is a little bit ruined. Therefore, make a long-term plan. Maybe I'm old school, old-fashioned. We made a 3 and a 5 year plan, and after 5 years, you should make a decent amount of money, profit, to pay back your debts. And yeah, that's the only advice I could give. As we are coming to an end, allow me, as the senior here, Johan, you made a great job as well. Thank you very much. I think on behalf of the whole audience, again, we are looking forward for the next session you will host with other interesting topics. And I think on behalf of everybody, especially to you personally, Johan, thank you very much.
Thank you, Wolfgang. Thanks all in this all experts here today for this a panel. Thanks a lot, Philip, Luis, Maria, and Wolfgang. And then after your final word, I still have a few final words for today. So thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
All the best.
Thank you.
Okay.
Ciao.
Thank you. Bye. Thanks. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, just a final word. I, as always, want to thank a lot, because, of course, it's an effort of a lot of people. We always get the input from the advisory board. We get support from our founding partners, gold partners, silver partners, and, of course, the speakers today. Just one last thing that you please save the dates, make a note. On the 8th of September, we have another remarketing expert track, which is talking about the artificial intelligence and the status of that. We had one expert track last year at the start of the year in 2021. And now we'll try and find where are we now. Are there any business cases, and how has this evolved? And then, of course, save the date, the 16th of November, but just be sure to take the 15th, 17th as well, so that you can enjoy the evening before, and certainly the evening of the awards ceremony. Thanks a lot for your support, attention, and see you next time. Thank you.